Hello tech viewers, welcome back to South Tech Tutorials. Today I will be taking you guys through reports in Excel. In order for you to come up with the best reports, you have to use what you call a pivotal table or a pivot table. This is a table that summarizes statistical data of more extensive table in Excel. You can see everything is related to table. That means all the work we are going to do here, it is going to start from rows and columns, and those are the ones that make up a table. So the information that is going to be inside that table is the one that we are going to summarize, and at the end of the day we shall come up with a report, a statistical report. So the best way to make a statistical report or any report in Excel is to use a pivot table. So without further ado, let me just open my Excel. I'm using Excel 2019. So here is my Excel. I'll open a blank workbook. So since we are going to deal with some data, it is that data that we are going to generate some reports in form of tables or graphs or charts. I have therefore organized some data, and it is one we are going to use for this session. So this is the data we shall use. This is the data we are going to use to make the reports accordingly. So the first thing we need to do now is to put this thing in a beta table. So I'll just highlight the work, and then I go to insert, I have to first put it inside the table. So now I have put it in a table, and you can see by the time you put it in the table, the titles are always having the different background color to show that these are the table headers. The revenue is the table header, and then the month, the quarter, region, state, and so on. So you can decide to change the design. Let me say, for me, I just want to use maybe that one which is like orange. That is now the background design for my table. So this is the first step when you want to make a report using a pivotal table. You have to first put it in the table itself, and you can see where I got it. I had to go under insert, and I clicked on table. Right now it is already in place. That's why table is now invisible. So this is the first step that we have accomplished towards our method of reaching up to pivot table. So after you have done this, then you have to click on pivot table. You have to first highlight your work and then click on pivot table. When you click on pivot table, it tells you that you have to select the table or range. So we shall leave it by default at table 1, and then it wants us to go to a new sheet. It doesn't want us to work in the same workbook or worksheet. So we have to go with the default settings, and we click, and then we have to just click on OK. So by the time you click on OK, you'll be you're going to get this. It's going to prevent you a little bit from accomplishing, not until you mark what you want to make the report from. Let me say you want to make a report on sales against revenue, so you have to tick those two. So you can now see, that we have created a pivot table of sales against revenue. And the good thing of using pivot tables is that it can calculate all the revenue which was anode, and then it brings it as a sum in one cell. Same thing to Craig, Jason, John, and the rest. So this is what Excel does. Actually, in the background it has added, because if you happen to go back to your original sheet, which is sheet 1, you can that's when you can really realize that a good job has been done using a pivot table. You can see here the names here are repetitive. You can see that there is John here, and then there is also John here. There is John on A2, and there is again John on A12. But when you see the pivot table that has been generated, you realize that John is just once, but his revenue has been calculated and it has totaled to 396,000. In other words, Excel has done background calculation and it has put them in one place rather than again repeating John many times. So you can now see that John is just appearing once, but his revenue for the whole year has been calculated to 396. The same thing to anode. When you look, let's go back to the original table. You can see we have anode on cell A11, and it's having 46,000. You can again see that there is anode on cell A18, and it's having 49,000. So what a pivot table does is it calculates all your yearly revenue and then it places them in one cell, not again repeating. So that's the advantage of using a pivot table to generate maybe a yearly report or a monthly report. So you can now see this one is a very good report you can present to your boss. So now we can go back and we create another report. So from this data we can also make a graph from this. So let's just highlight and then so after highlighting you have to just go back to insert, then you click on pivot chart. So guys, don't forget, for this session we are learning how we can generate a report in Excel using pivot table. So now we want to make a chart. You click on pivot chart, and you can decide now to use either you're using line, graph, or a pie chart. Let's start with a column, because this is the basic chart people normally use even in organizations. So you can just click on that first one and click OK. Let me say we want to put our charts in a different sheet. We just have to cut, then let's take them to sheet 3. Actually, this is our sheet 3. This is going to be our dashboard. I can just come and I paste it here. Can even change the background color of the whole sheet here. In order for you to change the background color, just click on any of the cells and highlight. So you can now see I've chosen that color and I've given a background color for my sheet. So our pivot table is inside sheet 2. Come back to sheet 2. This is our pivot table and we have generated a pivot chart. I have to delete this. I don't need this here again. Because I already have the copy here on sheet 3. So guys, let me take you back for another pivot table, how we can generate a report from this data. We want to make another report from this data, and this time I want to make I want to carry out a report on how the region has been performing financially. So I want to see how much has been generated in different regions for the whole year. That means I'm going to make a report of a region against revenue. I'll make a pivot report of region and revenue. In order for me to do that, I have to first select my table, and then I go back to insert a pivot table. I'm going to create it in a different sheet, so I'll go with the default settings and then I click OK. So this time I want to generate a report on region against revenue. That means I'm collecting data on region. I want to know how much revenue has been generated in the different regions in the whole year. So now this is the report that I have generated, and the eastern region has generated this amount, then the north has generated this. Same applies to south and west. So this is our pivot table, and it is a very good report. Can help, can help the government to know how much has been generated in different regions, and you can even see the grand total. Excel calculates these things automatically. It doesn't need us to do it manually, however much we know, but this is one way how you can do work faster, because Excel has gotten predefined formulas whereby they can easily calculate and present you with a report. However, they just need you to know how you can generate that report using a pivot table. From this pivot table, we can also generate a chart if we want. That's just by highlighting the pivot table, and then I go to insert and I go to pivot chart. I click on pivot chart. This time let me go with the line graph. Can go with that, and as you can see now, I have generated a pivot chart. This is a pivot table, and then this one is a pivot chart. These are all different ways of presenting or visualizing. You have to visualize your data in different formats. So I can decide to take this. Let me just take a copy and I take it to my dashboard that is having the pivot charts. I'll just paste it here, arrange it accordingly. So guys, what I'm trying to show you here is how you can make a report from the existing data. Let me say you have been employed maybe to be a data analyst. This is one of the scenarios you will come across, and you will have to solve it if you have been employed as a Excel Excel manager or IT guy in an institute or a certain department, you will need to generate certain reports in terms of pivot tables or pivot charts. So this is the concept, and you can use the same knowledge to apply on different reports that you will be presented with different data. So guys, I hope to stop here, and in case you have any question, I do recommend you that you just put it in the comment section and I'll get back to you from there.